Okay, I'm back. This is Jeff Overturf with WTFradio.me. I'm sitting here with Vaughn Miller. Vaughn, a lot of people out there are very ignorant when it comes to the rules and how the game is played. Could you help everybody a little bit about some of the ins and outs of how the sport's played, what the rules are, what the terms are that they use to describe certain things also?
Yeah, absolutely. And we have a lot of this information, too, on our website, Prestonwood Polo. I encourage you to go check it out sometime if you're really interested. And also, you can get contact information there about how to get in the sport and lessons. Anybody can do it. But polo is played on an outdoor field. It's called, we call it a lot of people call it the lawn. We're having a big charity match called Polo on the Lawn. Polo is actually considered a lawn, played out in the lawn of some famous castle and what have you. And so that's kind of the name we call it, or we just call it the polo field. But in the traditional sense, you call it the lawn. And it's played on a boarded field. So this field is 1,000 feet long, and there's 2 goals on each end of the field. And then on the sides of the field, we have what we call boards. They're wooden boards. They're 12 inches tall, and that's to keep the ball in play. And they're on wire so that if they get stepped on, they pop right over. It doesn't hurt the horses. The horses can jump over them very easily, or if the horse steps on it, it doesn't hurt the horse or the rider or anything like that. And these boards keep the ball in play. If the ball goes out, we throw it in from the outside of the boards. But basically, polo has 4 players a side, and the idea is for your team to score more goals than the other team, obviously. There's 4 players. So the number 1 player is usually the most offensive player. That's the guy who can score goals. You want to send him passes downfield, kind of like a wide receiver in football. The number 2 player is kind of like a tight end. He does blocking, kind of tackling, and I coach youth football, believe it or not, so I'm going to throw some football analogies in here. But he is your workhorse. He's the guy. The number 2 is the guy who's going to go play defense and offense. He's going to block players. He's going to push players out. He's an aggressive player. The number 3 player is usually the best on the team. He's the captain. He's the guy who's going to send the ball downfield, create the strategy, tell people where to go, and so forth. He's usually the highest rated goal player on the field, okay? Then the guy behind him is the number 4. He's the back. He's the guy playing defense. He is not letting anybody get through to score goals, and he is trying to back that ball, and you want a big hitter back there, somebody who can really send the ball downfield. So what happens is we go to the center of the field when we play a game, and we have 2 mounted officials, umpires, okay? And they watch over the many rules. There's a lot of rules in polo, but basically what happens is he throws the ball in the middle of the field, and then each team tries to steal that ball and get it towards their goal. After a goal is scored, this is important, we change directions each time. So if you're watching a match, you're going to see the ball, each team go a different way every time a goal is scored so that no player or team has an advantage on field or wind conditions. Okay?
Yeah, I did notice that. I never could figure out what was going on with all that. I mean, I thought, I kept on thinking I could position myself on this end and they'll be coming that way, and it just... Thank God I had a zoom lens on the camera.
Yeah, absolutely. That does throw a lot of people off. So again, they change directions each time a goal is scored, and that keeps things even because what happens is when horses so they tear up that polo field. So if you've got a big hoof print in a goal mouth, well, that's not fair to one team to be always playing in that goal mouth because the ball could get stuck or bounce left or right. So we switch it, and it makes it even. Now, what happens is typical polo game is played 6 periods, or what we call chukkers. A chukker is 7 minutes long. A polo horse is usually a thoroughbred. Thoroughbreds can only go about 7 minutes. Now think about what a thoroughbred's doing. You've seen a racehorse, like a Kentucky Derby. A racehorse will go full out for a maximum of 2 minutes. A quarter horse in a cutting horse in a cutting arena, you've seen what a cutting horse will do, back and forth, back and forth. They'll go for 2 minutes. We're asking a polo pony to do what a cutting horse does and a racehorse does for 7 minutes. So these are the greatest animal athletes in the world. These horses are amazing. They have to be thoroughbreds, usually, always thoroughbreds, but we try to get them sometimes with a mix of quarter or other because they're working around other animals. So they have to be kind of good with cattle and livestock. Because in polo, what happens is when the ball is traveling, That ball creates a line, forwards and backwards, and you can't cross the line. That's the rule, number one rule in polo, because if you cross the line of the ball, you're going to run into another player and kill somebody. Right. So we try to avoid that. And I shouldn't say kill somebody. You're going to hurt somebody. Not there haven't been that many.
They might wish they're dead.
They might wish they're dead. So what we try to do is all the rules in polo are designed to be around safety. Every rule has something to do with basically creating a safe situation for horse and rider.
Right. Well, I did. So those horses cost more than $100 is what you're telling me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Good polo pony, good thoroughbred, in the North Texas area, it's going to cost you around $10,000 to $15,000. If you go to Florida and you play what we call the high goal, where the higher rated player goes, those horses can be $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, even $100,000 an animal for some of the best in the world.
Right. Well, the race horses, they're in that ballpark also. They start at about 15 to 20,000 and up.
That's right. And you never know what you're going to get with a young horse. You buy a young horse as a racehorse or as a polo player sometimes. You don't know what you're going to get. And so as a polo player myself, I try to get a young horse and I try to train him and get him into polo and see if he can even handle it. And many horses don't work out, but the ones that do are usually very special.
Does bloodline have anything to do with that?
It definitely helps. You definitely want a horse, we want a horse that's got what we call good conformation. That's where you look at the back of the horse and his legs are square. You don't want him going in or out and all this junk. And same thing on the front legs. You want those feet facing front and straight. And then you want to have a lot of muscle. Usually I like a horse with a good long neck, but a low head. I don't want a horse with a real high head getting in my way.
Right.
There's these little things you want to look for, but they're all different. I've had some that don't look good at all, and they're amazing on the polo field. I've had some horses that I can't go practice on, but once I get him in the game, he's amazing. He's a beast. He beats everybody, and he plays wonderful. So, they're beautiful, and they're wonderful creatures, and they're all different. They all have little personalities and things.
Well, athletes are like that, too. There's those that talk it. There's those that practice it, but the main ones are the ones that play it during game time.
That's exactly right.
So horses do the same thing, I guess.
They absolutely do. And, now you go into a field, you have 6 periods, so each player is going to really need a fresh horse each period. So they're going to come with what we call a string of ponies. If you've heard of that phrase, that euphemism, I have a string of ponies. Well, that's 6 horses. You want a fresh horse each period. So it gets to be, a little bit costly to do that. But what we do at Prestonwood is we've refined that, because we don't expect people to make that kind of investment in the sport. So we say, look, get 2 good horses, and we're going to play 4 periods, which is plenty of polo, and you can what we call double those horses. You can play one the first period, let him rest, and then you come back and play him the second period, and you do that with the other horse.
Now, do you own all those horses they're using out there to these people? Because obviously the guys that came in from South Africa are using somebody else's horses. They're not flying them over here, are they?
No, that's correct. That's correct. I did provide them horses that day, and we usually provide horses, but most of the players that come that are better players have their own strings. And then they board them out at our facility or in facilities around the area, and they truck them in, and they bring their horses in for the polo match.
Okay, well, that sounds really good, Vaughn. Let's take another little break here. We'll be right back. This is Jeff Overturf with WTFradio.me and Vaughn Miller.